This is Stephen Kotler, and you're listening to Your Superior Self.
This is Christina Rasmussen, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Dave Meltzer, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, I'm Anita Murjani, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Paul Selig, and this is Your Superior Self.
What's up, everybody? I'm Aubrey Marcus, and this is Your Superior Self.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome back. I'm Trey Downs, and this is Your Superior Self. Thank you guys for taking the time to hang out with me today. Thank you for taking the time to download this episode. I have an incredible conversation with today's guest, Lisa Najjar, author of Dying to Tell You, Channel Messages from the Famously Dead. Yes, you heard that right. Famously dead. This book has channeled messages from Marilyn Monroe, Abraham Lincoln, Waylon Jennings, Walt Disney, Elvis Presley, Mother Mary, Paul Newman, Cleopatra, Davy Jones, Albert Einstein, George Harrison, Martin Luther King, Michael Jackson, and my favorite, Jesus. That's right. And you know what's funny is that each chapter of the individual that she channels, she has the date that was channeled on that day. So, like, for instance, Jesus was channeled on May 10th, 2015, and it's titled Perfect and Beautiful. And why is that important to me? Well, one, I love Jesus's teachings, not the ones in the Bible. Well, maybe the ones in the Bible. But whenever you speak to a channel or someone that has direct contact with that energy that is Jesus, listen to that message, because it is totally different, totally love, total, just you can resonate with that message. And that's why it was so important for me in this book. One, May 10th is my birthday, so I immediately was like, all right, that's kind of interesting. And then two, the message, and I quote some of that in this interview, was just, it hits you right in the heart. Like it really does. It's like, man, I don't know. I've never met Jesus, maybe not in this lifetime, but the words that are coming from this page, if my idea of Jesus is accurate, or if my feeling of Jesus is accurate, these are the words that he would say. Like, this is what I envision him saying. And his love message is just so pure. It's so spot on. And I highly suggest you pick this book up. Again, it's called Dying to Tell You, Channeled Messages from the Famously Dead. Lisa does an amazing job. And actually, here's a little preview of what's to come.
In the last several years, I've been really working a lot with Jesus, and it's beautiful. Oh my gosh, Trey, the energy is so spectacular. It's just this light. It's, if you took your very best day or the highest moment of your life, and you now tried to 100 times that, it wouldn't even touch that feeling. It's like a presence comes over you completely. And wow, it's just, I think there are no words for that. Now, I've heard that he appears to people very differently, all kinds of people, and he can appear in the presence of, in the, I guess, the form of a human, and just kind of different ways that he comes to people, and ways he brings his messages. So it's not all going to always look like mine. But when he comes in for a client, and by the way, the masters do come in when I'm doing a lot of this work, especially the healing work, the soul healing work, the masters will come in, and they've been doing healing on these clients of mine. And oh my goodness, it brings me to tears. I'm just overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful, right? Yeah. I can't wait for this episode. I hope you guys are excited. Before we get into it, though, I want to talk about my sacred activism. Bringing more awareness to children suffering, family suffering. And this month, I want to focus in on the foundation titled Believe in Tomorrow Children's Foundation, which is here in Baltimore. It's the Children's House at Johns Hopkins. The mission of the Children's House at Johns Hopkins is to provide a family-centered, supportive residence for children being treated for life-threatening illness and their families. The Believe in Tomorrow Children's House at Johns Hopkins is the cornerstone of Believe in Tomorrow's hospital housing program, providing overnight accommodations to families of children receiving treatment at the world-renowned Johns Hopkins Center in Baltimore, Maryland. Accommodating up to 15 families a night, the facility provides an average of 2,000 overnight stays each month to families from every state in the U.S. and over 82 countries worldwide. Its doors are located just 1 block from the hospital's main entrance and serves as a national model for pediatric hospital housing. Yeah. If you guys want to check out their website, you can do that by going to believeintomorrow.org, believeintomorrow.org. You guys can volunteer, or you can donate, or just find out more, or even get their newsletters. They have some amazing family stories over there as well, and you can also donate if that is your calling. After you go there, go to traydowns.com, leave me a message, let me know what your thoughts are, how you're doing, what your mission is in life, what are you trying to achieve. I love hearing your stories. I love hearing your journeys about obtaining higher consciousness, enlightenment, whatever it is that your mission is. Keep going, keep pushing, you guys. It's a beautiful journey, and we're all in it together. I'm very excited to be a part of that, and I appreciate all that you guys do and the efforts. So yeah, hit me up. You can follow me on Instagram as well, tdowns80. Hit me up over there. Leave me a message. Give me a little follow and a little like on some of the pictures that I post of my workouts, my episodes, and some of the marketing efforts that I do. I'm not very good at it, but it's not my mission. My mission is to get this information out to you guys to help raise consciousness and awareness about our potential, the human potential. So yeah, I'm excited. So let's get this thing started, guys. Let's get after this. Here is my interview with the powerful and the great Lisa Najjar.
Hi, I'm Lisa Najjar, and this is Your Superior Self. And I'm with Trey Downs. I'm a psychic medium, channeler, healer, and teacher. And I'm from Canada originally, and now I'm here in the US. And very happy. Very happy.
I'm very happy you're here. All of those labels I'm all about. How did you get into this, right? Like, is this a gift? I have your book Dying to Tell You, which is channel messages from the famously dead. So like characters or people like Albert Einstein, Walt Disney, I think Mother Mary is in here, Abraham Lincoln, and one of my favorites, Jesus. Give me some background. I know you worked for the courts, right? Like that is something that you mentioned on your website, and now you work for a higher court, jokingly, right? How did you get into this?
That's right, Trey. I was a court reporter in Canada, and I always had the gift. I guess even when I was young, I just didn't pay attention to it, and I didn't think about it, and it's nothing I ever wanted to do. So I didn't expect that I'd be ever doing this. And really, it was Walt Disney who came and asked me to do this. Now, prior to that, I was doing it for friends and family. If they really needed something, I'd say, okay, I'll tune in. But I didn't want to do it as a living. I mean, I always wanted to help raise consciousness on the planet, but this isn't the way I thought I would do it. And, but sometimes spirit or our higher selves, they have other plans.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, was there all right, so you felt like you're growing up, you had this gift, or you felt you were different in some sense, consciousness, whatever that may be. Like, when did you start seeing or channeling? It was Walt Disney was the first person that you started channeling?
Yes, for the channeling. But when I was 17, I was living in a house where two of the three daughters had tragically been killed. And I could hear them in the house. I could hear them laughing and playing and carrying on. And so it was very matter of fact. I didn't still do anything with it. It wasn't until decades later when there was a high profile missing persons case in Canada. And a friend of mine we were sitting over lunch and she was telling me about this case in a small town. And as she was telling me, I could feel the presence of somebody. And I looked at her and I said, it was an elderly couple. They had gone on a vacation and they never came back. So I said, the lady's here, the mother's here. And you know what? She came and she followed me home and stayed with me for basically 2 weeks. And every day, all she would say is, I need to talk to my daughter. I need to talk to my daughter. And I said, look, there's nothing I can do. I'm so sorry. I don't know who your daughter is. I don't know anything about this case. This isn't what I do for a living. I'm sorry. Anyway, she wouldn't leave. And finally, she asked me again. And I said, okay. Tomorrow, I will make a point of trying to find your daughter. So before I did so, though, she asked me to get a piece of paper and she channeled a poem for her daughter. And so I wrote it all down. And then the next day I did look her up and I thought, well, are there several daughters? Is there only one? I don't know if they believe in this. I mean, can you imagine just calling somebody like that that's in the middle of this tragedy and the mystery of it? So I did call her, and I guess, thankfully in this sense, she was open to all this. And in fact, she right away said, do you have a message for me from my mother? And I did. I channeled a message over the phone. And she said, I have, and then she said, can I come over? And I said, yes. It was about 9 p.m. And she came to my house. And when she got there, I gave her this poem. And she looked at me and started to cry. And she said, now I know it was really my mother, because she said, I've worked with the police and I've called about 150 psychic mediums. And she said, all of them are giving me stuff, but none of them gave me anything in writing. And my mother and I, before she went on this vacation, we were standing in the kitchen and we had this discussion. And it was whichever of us goes first, whoever goes first, the way we would know it was really them is that they would they would bring back something in writing. And she said, you've just given me this. And it was a beautiful poem to her mother. And that's kind of how that began. And I realized the importance of the gift. I still didn't really want to do it for a living, but that's how I at least recognized this could really be important. And it was after that Walt Disney came and asked if I wanted to do this book. And well, that's another part of the story, but anyways.
How did you not freak out? Like, I feel like I would freak out if, like, all of a sudden I vision this lady following me home and she wants me to do something for her. Like, do you see them in like more like in a light state? Is it like ghostly? Is it like a person? Do you actually see people? Like, what does that look like?
Well, that's a great question. Yeah, oh, it does. And it's a very great question. I actually teach intuitive IQ, how to raise your intuitive IQ. And one of the very first things that I talk about are the clairs. And the clairs are, the clairaudient, clairsentient, and all that. So clear knowing, clear sight, clear hearing, all of that. When I realized I had this gift, so, when I was pretty much, well, I'll say a teenager, when I came into it, I guess, I said to Spirit, and I especially said it when I started doing it as a job. I said, look, I don't want to see anything. I don't want to see stuff. Just, show it to me in other ways. I didn't want that because I'm kind of a nervous Nilly. I thought I'd be kind of nervous, right? Mm-hmm. So when I saw this woman, it's like I have clear knowing. And sometimes sound, I can hear them. Like in my book, I'm sure you read that when Paul Newman would come in, it would be the smell of cigarette smoke. So I would know, okay. And then I would feel, I'm a total empath. So I'm clairsentient, and I would feel how they felt. I'd start crying or whatever they were feeling, I'd feel. And yes, sometimes I get glimpses of them and sometimes I can even see, but I prefer kind of not. Just my choice. And we can tell Spirit. I don't blame you. We can tell Spirit how we want to work, Trey. Yeah. We tell them.
Yeah. Can you teach that power to people? Like, could you take me, a guy that's maybe I don't know I have gifts, but I have the ambition to do this, right? Can you teach me to do those things?
I certainly can. And do you know what? Everybody's got it. We are all intuitive. We all just think we aren't. But listen, it's that gut feeling. It's that knowing when you could have gone down that street, but you didn't, or you got the feeling that maybe I shouldn't go on that outing, or as soon as you meet somebody, you just know, this isn't a good one, or yes, come in, or you land, in a city and you're home, things like that. We all have that. Even when we walk into a house, maybe we're purchasing a house or something, we all can feel energy. We know when something just feels like, I should back off here. And basically what I teach people is that, yes, you have it and you use it all day long for everything you do, from, as I say, buying a house to picking a spouse. We constantly are hearing something or knowing something. The only thing is most of us don't trust it and we can't practice and work it. So in my course, I go through the basics, yes, but that's just the basics. And then we actually do exercises and we learn and we practice. And as soon as you practice, you'll see within probably one class, you'd see, wow, I am really intuitive actually. And then you just need to build your confidence. So that's kind of all there is to it.
So I kind of related to, like, you're the Michael Jordan or the Kobe Bryant of like mediumship, intuition. Like, you have worked your powers up to this point. I guess me starting, I'd be like, I don't, a high school kid or whatever, playing a sport like at that level. Could I get my abilities to where you're at, or is some people born with the abilities that you have, being able to channel certain people?
Oh my gosh. Yes, indeed. In fact, and I'm a channel and a psychic and a medium. And the difference is it's basically where you get your information. So a psychic goes out into the collective field, and there's various ways that we tap into the collective consciousness, maybe somebody's aura, whatever. There's many, many thoughts on how we get our information, but we do. And then that's a psychic. Now, a medium is a direct line to source. Not source, somebody who's passed over. So we literally just take dictation. We hear something and we have to tell them. And we don't get to interpret really. We just say the message and maybe describe them or whatever the case is. And then channeling, that I consider higher master souls like Jesus. And they come through and they just, there's different ways of doing that. Some people go into a full trance. I prefer not. But I go into what I'd call maybe a semi-trance or something. Now, all of those things, yes, I think we're all born intuitive. I would absolutely say that. And sometimes people that on the first class, they're better than I am. And it's like they must have, in maybe past lives really got that gift honed and they excelled in that, or perhaps it's just like you said, natural gifted and born that way. Whatever it is, I've known many people on their first day, I went, oh my gosh, this person's really amazing. But I would say everyone across the board, I haven't yet seen anyone who within a class or two isn't significantly shocked at what they can do. And yeah, they can easily surpass what I can do, easily and fast too. Now, mediumship, that's a little bit different, and channeling's a little different. Not to say you need a long time for it, but that's more, I'd say, a little bit more skill, and there's certain things you want to learn about it. That's about it though. I mean, the gift is there, but you just have to learn the techniques or the ins and outs and different little pieces of that. The psychic, forget about it. You could do it in probably a class.
Yeah. I feel like you got to, for the channeling or the mediumship, I feel like you really got to trust yourself, right? Like, you got to trust your ability. That's like one of my biggest things is like that trust issue. Like, I feel like I can reach certain higher self, but it's like, am I fooling myself, right? Like, is it really me or is it my higher self? I don't know. It's like, but you got to have that trust, and you got to make that decision on what you want to pursue. And if I want to get better at channeling, like, I have to commit myself to that, right? Like, I have to, if I want to raise myself to, to that, if I want to hit the top of the mountain, I have to level myself up to it, right? And I have to do it every day, put work into it. And people are like, what are you talking about work? There's actually things that you need to do. I mean, in my personal opinion, you have to do things to create higher consciousness for yourself, whether that's diet, alcohol, drugs, whatever. Like, you have to take care of your body, because that is essentially your antenna or your source of consciousness. And to reach these different vibrations, like, you have to do things to get yourself in that mode.
Absolutely. And you're bringing up such great points. Definitely, we've got to keep our vibration up. And that, I mean, there's a list of things I could say, which you've touched on many of. Yeah, absolutely. And every day, and really pay attention to what you see, what you hear, what you allow in, because all of that lowers or raises your frequency. And so that's the work part of it. The other thing, though, is mainly practice. And when I teach these groups, we do meet twice a month, and we learn, of course, yes. And I go through and ask them questions, and we get, I help them with challenges or anything they're going through. But also, it's mainly just practice, practice, practice. And believe it or not, even when I was doing this in this lifetime for a living, so now I'm fully doing it. I have paid clients, the whole thing. It really took quite a while, several years, before I didn't not trust myself. And I would say even to this day, I'll once in a while get something, because the other thing I can do is I can read souls. So if you're blocked, let's say you can only reach a certain level of something, or success or something, and money, and you pick constantly the same type of person as a partner. What I do is I have a really keen gift for this, is I can go in and immediately see, okay, where did that problem get set up? And let's untangle that. Which lifetime, what was going on? What were the beliefs? Let's untangle that. And here's what you can do to do that. So it's things like that. But every now and again, I'll get some really strange stuff in the course of either that or whatever psychic work. Like once it was about a tree. And I thought, oh my gosh, I cannot tell this woman whatever it was about this tree. Or in the one case with a client, it'll be in my next book, and she gave me permission to talk about it. But, her mother came in from the beyond and was discussing her father. And I thought, okay, now they were really older people. So back in that generation, to be gay was not acceptable. And this woman, I now have to, because the mother's saying this, I have to talk about this with her, and sort of, he's going to come out now that he's passed. And I thought, can I do this? Am I getting this right? I better be right about this. And a few other things like that. And you know what? You tell the people, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, that's my favorite tree. And in fact, it was a magical one. And they described it. And I'm like, yes, that's what I'm seeing. Or, my sister and I always thought that he was, and this was going on. And it was one of those, marriages of convenience, and because of the times they lived in and all of that. So, and it just took a weight off of these people so you really just I had to train myself to give what I get. It doesn't matter how it looks, or if some inanimate object, doesn't matter. It means something to them, or that those words mean something to them. So you just say it and you hope. And so it still catches up with me every now and again.
That's awesome. That's amazing. My favorite part in this entire book is the part with Jesus. I have to say that, not because I come from a Christian background, but because it resonates with me so much, and that the date that is channeled is my birthday, which was awesome. May 10th, 2015. I think 32 years old when this was channeled, but it's about Jesus. And I could not have been more in sync with this channel. Talk about that presence. Like, how did you know it was him, and what did that feel like?
You're saying that was your favorite, and honestly, mine too. Mother Mary, especially Mother Mary, resonated with me really my whole life, and that could be my Catholic background. I don't know, but she always resonated with me. And in fact, I used to say to Jesus, Jesus, I just talk out loud like this to them. I'd say, no offense, but I really prefer talking to your mother. I really love talking to your mother. I feel this real resonance. And I thought, oh, he's not going to care, of course. He's all just love and light. But in the last several years, I've been really working a lot with Jesus. And it's beautiful. Oh my gosh, Trey, the energy is so spectacular. It's just this light. if you took your very best day or the highest moment of your life and you now tried to 100 times that, it wouldn't even touch that feeling. It's like a presence comes over you completely. And wow, it's just, I think there are no words for that. Now, I've heard that he appears to people very differently, all kinds of people, and he can appear in the presence of, in the, I guess, the form of a human, and just kind of different ways that he comes to people and ways he brings his messages. So it's not all going to always look like mine. But when he comes in for a client, and by the way, the masters do come in when I'm doing a lot of this work, especially the healing work, the soul healing work, the masters will come in and they've been doing healing on these clients of mine. And oh my goodness, it brings me to tears. I'm just overwhelmed by it. And I just sit there and kind of let it come through me. And I feel very honored and really blessed to be a channel of that energy. How could you not? Yeah.
The one paragraph that I absolutely love, I'll quote here. It says, "That realm, what vibration that you are living and working in, is so harsh. It is so difficult for you to see yourselves clearly there. It's like being thrown in the mud. You're all covered in it." Like, I don't know a better way to describe this place than that. I mean, he even describes in this reading how he would forget about his mission and that he needed help to continue down his path and remember what he's here for. I mean, this is Jesus, the Son of God, that came and died for our sins, that a religion is based off of, that is being so transparent and honest in this short little reading here. It's only a couple pages, but I've never felt more close to him than this channel right here, right? Like, he is absolutely right. Like, it's so dense here where we're at. It's so easy to forget how powerful we are and how special we are. And to hear that from a man who died for us, who has so much impact on this earth, I mean, it truly is amazing.
Really, I couldn't agree with you more. His words are so beautiful. And I do feel like that when I feel like we're friends, like he's my friend. He comes to me as a friend, a soul friend, you could say. And it's so lovely. And yeah, from what I understand and what I've been shown and told, this is probably the most dense place we could come. In fact, some say they consider it the insane asylum of the universe. And a lot of souls won't come to the earth because it's too much. It's like boots on the ground. It's, we're going into battle because really you get this amnesia. It's this veil of forgetfulness, they call it. And you forget who you are. And sometimes I pray to Jesus and I say, Jesus, when you were in the Garden of Gethsemane and when your ancestors were there and all the masters were there and you were talking to them, having communion with them, I said, the average person on this planet doesn't think they have that. They don't feel they can talk. What do you say to that? And yeah, it was basically that he is here. He is here with us and we can. And so really trust yourself. If you feel you're hearing from him or he touches your heart in some way, he did. It's not just your, the imagination and all that the human part of us wants to just chalk it up to that. No, he said he really is, and he walks with us. He's there for us. He's always trying to help and to remind us of who we are, which is beautiful and perfect.
Sure. Well, speaking of that, he says here in this other paragraph that's very powerful. Is there any more important message to share? If this book only said one thing, you are perfect and beautiful, it would be complete. But people are not ready to hear that. They want to hold on to the distortion that they are bad and flawed and wrong and separate and unworthy. This is a big one, unworthy. You struggle with this most of all, as do many. And then he goes on this, what is he? I didn't expect him to say this, but to each one of you, I say you are a magnificent being. You are God incarnate, filled with everything in the universe. Like, I'd rather, like, where is that in the Bible? Like, I don't remember any of that being said. Like,
no,
like, it's just, I'm just so glad there are people like yourself who can get in touch with the higher power like this source spirit and get the truth, right? Instead of some type of distorted, mistranslated book that's been handed down from generation to generation to help program us at an early age. I mean, this to me sounds more like love than anything else I've ever heard of.
Yes, I agree with you. It's I mean, I was raised in the Catholic faith, but even as a child, sitting in there with the nuns and everything, I remember thinking something's not being told here. There's something off. There's a piece missing. It doesn't feel right that the God that I know, the God that I love, and the God that I would want to be part of and follow, it would not be somebody who would throw you into the pits of hell forever and it just nothing about that made sense. And so as soon as I got into high school, I studied world religions, and then I went out seeking, the truth of these. And of course, there's the golden thread between all the faiths, and that's the golden rule. Actually, that's the common thread. And so I'm a lover of all faiths now. I really am. But I think the God inside is the God that personally I want to be, in communion with and in communication with, because it's just more real. It's just, it's real. And when you were saying that about the perfect and beautiful, that talk about a pivotal moment. I was not on what I'd call a intentional spiritual path. This was back in my 30s. I had a young son. I was now a single mother. He was 8. And I was definitely looking to do something and raise my consciousness and evolve myself, and starting to go on that path of, self examination and all of that. And Jesus came to me, and he showed me a movie film of criminals, doing what we consider sin, all the worst stuff, murder and rape and, whatever, theft and adultery and just everything, and so each frame, he showed it to me like a movie film, and each frame he would say, "What do you see here?" And I said, "Oh, they're perfect and beautiful," because of course I saw the truth of them. And then over here, and then he'd take me the next and the next and the next. And he said, "Now this was an experience I had where I was in between worlds, and I was preparing to come into this lifetime." And he said, "Now go back and tell them what I have shown you here." And I said, "Oh my goodness, I couldn't. I'm not worthy to share such a message." And he said, "What are you?" And I said, "Oh, yes, I guess I'm perfect and beautiful too." And, I finished that, and I wasn't in this realm, the spiritual teaching kind of a realm. And I was just the core reporter. And I thought, what am I going to do with that? So I was going to go work in the prison system as a volunteer, and just help these people to know that no matter what kind of wrong turn or, a misstep you took, or whatever conditioning you had that led you to this point, you are perfect and beautiful. He says so. And if he's telling me that, hey, I am not arguing with the big guy. I'm just not doing that. And I really wanted them to know. But, back in Canada where I was, they wouldn't let me do anything in these prisons. And I guess I wasn't trained or qualified or whatever. And that's cool. I just didn't know what I was going to do. Once I got the book out, I was able to share that. And I do share about how important it is to not judge anyone, no matter if it's something you love about them or something you dislike about them, because you don't know the backstory. You don't know the karma. You don't know how they were raised. You don't know what they're learning. You don't know what the people around them are learning. You don't know anything. We just make up stories and judge them. And then we can't forgive them. And he taught me really about that. And I try to share that message now because it's important.
I agree. Just one last quote, and then I'll move on. You are mighty, powerful, lowly, and meek. You are in this world, but not of it. You are the one for whom you have truly been waiting. The search is over. You are here. All that is needed is for you to believe in who you are and what you are. Each of you is an extension of God and each other. What you see outside of yourself is yourself. Do not be fooled into thinking that there is anything beside yourself. There is not. Each of the parts of yourself are being acted out in the lives of others. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that 100%. Besides Jesus and Mother Mary, who was your favorite? I'm guessing Walt Disney.
Sorry, Walt, but no. I mean, I loved him. Listen, I do love him. Of course I do. And the work he's doing over there to help the kids and everything, it's beautiful. But no, my favorite was Paul Newman. It touched me so, and Michael Jackson, because of the very piece that we just discussed. And because Michael came and talked to me about a personal thing. So it came to me, and it's not in the book. And it was just really, really special for me. So that, Michael, but really, and George Harrison, my goodness, I loved channeling him. Absolutely loved it. But I think Paul Newman touched me the most. It was just so real, the love and his feeling, and just he was a very good man. I could really feel that. And the love he had for his wife, and I don't know, I guess as a romantic, that really, really spoke to me. Yeah.
Paul Newman. I'm sorry. I don't, is it bad that I don't know George Harrison? Who is that?
George Harrison from the Beatles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no.
Yeah. And I think it's maybe his birthday today or yesterday, but maybe today actually. So interesting that it even came up. I only saw it on Instagram, that a lot of posts with him today. So I'm thinking today is his birthday, but he was amazing. And when he would come in, I wouldn't know if it was Jesus or him, because he'd have these white robes on. And so I'd say, wait a minute, why is Jesus always coming with you? And why are you dressed like that? And apparently he's job shadowing, because he was really ready to basically take on this kind of an apprenticeship for an ascended master, for a master. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. So I really enjoyed, and he's come to me on my own several times, actually a lot of times, and given me lots of messages for the world and for, things that are going on, and sometimes in through sessions even. So he's been a little more vocal than some of the others, actually, in between, I guess, since the book.
Tell me why Albert Einstein changed his theory to the theory of irrelevance.
Well, because he was so shocked when he crossed over and found out that he was virtually not so important. And he's kind of irrelevant, and yet then goes on to learn that not only, he's irrelevant in the way that we judge. We put so much emphasis on him, and we put him up to this level of, you're so special. And he says, I crossed over and realized I wasn't special at all. And that was a hard pill to swallow. So that was his learning when he crossed over. But he said, then I came to learn that we're all special, not one more than another. So that's when he said not to judge anyone, not even the good stuff, because you don't even know why they're doing the good stuff. Some people do good stuff because they're afraid to burn in hell, or they're actually trying to win brownie points or get approval from somebody. So just because someone's doing wonderful things, we shouldn't actually judge anything about them. We're to look at things and just send them light and love, good or bad, whatever we class as that, and basically stay pretty neutral. And, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? And then go inside and figure out why you're being triggered by it, if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because we are all, like Jesus said, we're all being triggered by the good and the bad in others. And it's really to help us look at ourselves and do our own inner work. It's not about them. So that's kind of why he said that. And he was cool. It was a surprise to channel him, I guess I would say.
You talked about, let's see, there's Michael Jackson, Walt Disney. You said he's doing a lot of good things for kids over there. Like, what's up with that? What is he doing?
Yeah, he is. He works with them. He's got I think he called it Candyland over there, and he really wants to. His message was about a very important one, but a difficult one to do. He was talking to people who have lost parents, who have lost children. I mean, and telling them that these kids, they don't go very far. And this I can confirm even with readings that I do outside of Walt Disney. Even people like somebody, yes, definitely children, but even somebody who was really, really in love with somebody and their just soul is so intertwined, sometimes they won't move on either, just like the kids, until they know that their parent or their beloved is going to be okay. And I have to be the one often that brings that message to these people and says, you know what? Not only are they doing really well, but they want you to be really, really happy. And if that means to the parent, if that means you play and you laugh again, then do it, because when you laugh, they rise higher. When you're happy, they go higher, and they can be really in that peace place. And not to put the burden and responsibility on the parent. Obviously, they have to go through this. They have to grieve it. I have a child. I can't imagine. Okay, so there's a process, and they can do that process, and of course they should. But just to get that perspective of what's going on from their child's perspective. And that's what he wants to tell people, to tell parents, is they're right with you and they don't go away. But in terms of what they're doing and their level of peace in that sort of after place is they just hang and they're just watching until they feel okay to step a little further. And the same with the loved ones. I'm the one who has to tell them sometimes, your husband actually wants you to be married again. He wants you to fall in love again. I know it's only been 6 months or a whatever time period, but that's what he's actually telling me. You're here now to love. You're not here to act as if you're dead too. He isn't here. You are here. And life is for loving and living. And so they do that. They come and give that message, not often, but certainly a fair bit.
That's beautiful. Were you ever nervous about revealing this gift, like telling people about it, even the book? Were you nervous about it coming out?
Oh, please. So nervous about it. Oh my gosh. Talk about second guessing. I second guessed myself the whole time, because remember, I wasn't doing it for a living then. I was a court reporter and I was a mom, a football, I was, on the football, this and that, and the teams and the, helping and the coordinator. And I was just involved in my son's life. I wasn't doing this at all. And then to all of a sudden get this and to channel this. And then I sat there and I thought, what am I going to do with this? There's no way I can ever get this out into the world. I can't. I'd be a laughing stock. I mean, who's going to believe me? What am I even doing? Like, what is this? And it really was Deva Pramal, because I sent her a book. I loved her music. I had always loved her music, but I sent her a book because a couple of the, like George and Mark Twain, they commented on her music, her Gayatri mantra that I would use for channeling. So I sent her the book, and she so loved the messages that she started, unbeknownst to me, after most of her concerts, before they would close, she would be telling the audience about me, and her partner shared these things with me, and she did it when I was there, and I had no idea. But anyways, you can imagine, I got a lot of people wanting readings at that point, and I kind of had to just, go out there. But yes, it was a really, really, really hard decision to put that book out there and to come out of the closet. Really hard.
Well, did anybody
I don't worry at all now.
Right? I mean, this came out in
no,
2016.
no,
right?
I've been so lucky. Pardon?
I said this came out in 2016, right? So this isn't that old. I mean, but people, like you were talking about with people, like my thing is, I think people are afraid of being treated different, right? Like to have this out, like, and you were very involved in your mom or in your mom's and your son's sports, being a mom, and that comes with school too, friends. It comes, I'm a father of 3, so I get that. And I can see where there is some nervousness about the community that you're in, or the society's beliefs of what is normal and what is not. I think you're seeing an influx in consciousness. I think that is something that we're becoming more aware of as of late. I think I don't know, the last 5 years maybe. I don't know, but see, I've become more aware. I've become more open minded to psychic mediums and consciousness and higher realms and this and that. I think you're seeing more of that, and I think the more that we go into this time, I think more people will be more open to this stuff. Hopefully, I really do hope, because I feel like I am more at peace with a lot of things. It's helped me cope and deal with a lot of hurt and pain, open up my heart, my frequency. It's helped me connect with a lot more people, and really know what love is. And so I hope a lot of people do become more aware. What are your thoughts on that? Like I don't think there was a lot of people that were open to this stuff like 5, 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my goodness. In fact, when Disney first came to me, actually, it wasn't even about this book. He came to me through a medium friend of mine. I was in these beautiful magical lakes in Alberta, Canada. And my friend, I was there with two friends, one of whom is, well, they're both mediums, but one of whom did it for a living. And we were sitting by this beautiful, magical, fifth dimensional, I'll call them lakes because they are. And all of a sudden he said, Lisa, Walt Disney's here and he has a message for you. And he told me that Never to Give Up on My Dream, which was a TV show that had been downloaded to me. I'm a person who never even watched TV. My son had a TV down the basement. That was his domain down there with his friends. I didn't watch TV, so nothing about TV would have been in my mind. But they downloaded a TV show called What a Fool Believes. And so I took all the information down and everything, and I didn't know what to do with it again. And Disney said to me, don't give up on that dream. I'm going to help you get that on the air. That's what the first message was about. And when I did go around to a little bit here and there of TV people that were sort of local in Calgary, Canada, yes, there was interest. But again, it was long time ago, really long time ago, and people were not quite really open yet. And it was really fringe. It was kind of fringe at that point. It is so mainstream now. It's so mainstream. In fact, it's probably one of the most popular things out there on TV now. So this would be an ideal time to get that show going because it's ripe, ready. I almost feel like we're too late because there's so many people doing this work. And it's because I've been told, and many people have been told this, we're going into what's called an ascension. So we're going to a higher frequency. We're not going to be limited to the third dimension anymore. So we're rising up into a new frequency. It's more of a fifth dimensional frequency. The earth herself is doing that. We are doing that, those who want to. Nobody forces you. And because of that, these gifts are being revealed to people. We're going to be able to tap into some of the stuff that we used to before that was hidden. The veil, in other words, is lifting or thinning. And so we can easily do that. And plus, what's happened in the world, even this past year, I was given heads up on it actually in 2019 and December of 2019. And it was a huge shock to me what I was told was about to happen, because to me, it was going to be a most fantastic year. I was excited. I had so many things going and they said, no, not so much. And then they went on to explain about the year. But the upshot of it was, yes, it's going to be, the world will be turned upside down. It will be shocks, shocks, and more shocks. The whole world will, what was impossible will become possible, and vice versa, and all these things they said. But at the end of the year, and towards that end, end of this, more people would be coming to a spiritual place. And I'm noticing it in my readings all the time, just based on the year that we just passed through. More people are waking up and they're seeking and they're looking, and they know that all this material stuff that they've been focused on isn't the answer anymore. And they see that, wow, my life could really change in a heartbeat, just like that. Everything about my life is now different. And it's almost like, that cancer diagnosis that you didn't expect. It's like, it just hit everyone like, whoa, what? And people are seeking God. And I am, for one, doing the happy dance about this, because it's really, that's where we need to be going, all of us.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's phenomenal. Yeah, it's, I'm so glad that we're being more open to different types of holistic medicine, holistic practices, spiritual activism. I think with that, you'll see more awakening. I think it definitely healed me. I mean, I'm still being healed from that. Nothing I struggle with depression and anxiety. I'm very open about it because I know that, I have a better concept of what the body's doing when those things happen. But through my awareness, through my expansion of consciousness, it has allowed me to understand it more and look at it as not myself, not my being. It's so crazy. Like I totally believe, or I totally seek the facts that the universe presents things to you when you need them. So like things, there are no, there's no, like, I was just introduced to Ram Dass not too long ago, and his philosophies and his books. And like, I wasn't ready for that like a year ago. Like, it's so funny how the universe works. It presents like little breadcrumbs to you. And as you follow that path, like things open up for you. When I first started the podcast, I wasn't really in that. It was more so business. It was entrepreneurship and business. It wasn't spirituality or intuition or mysticism or anything like that. And just out of nowhere, like the universe presented me with a publicist that was interested in having an author in psychology come on, and we started talking about near-death experiences and OBEs and things like that. And I had no clue what that was, and I became really curious. And so I started diving into books, and then one thing led to another. And then I found, Edgar Cayce in your book, his books. It really sparked interest in me. And it was like, now I'm here having a fantastic conversation with you. And I find myself moving more towards consciousness and more towards trying to experience enlightenment and understand the super consciousness that's out there that I want to connect with more. I'm really just excited about where I'm at. And I hope that for other people. And I know your book, Dying to Tell You, will do those things for people. They'll read these stories, maybe not publicly, but privately, like you say in the book, and it will reach their heart.
Yeah, that's my hope, because I'll tell you something. When Walt Disney told me, so he came to me the first, well, I guess now we'll say that was the one I told you about was the first time. Then when he came about the book, he came to me directly, and he told me it would be this book about celebrities. And I said, oh, you gotta be kidding. Of all the people I have ever known in my life, I am the least interested in anything celebrity. I could care less. I don't pay attention. I don't know the who's who. I don't care what they're doing, what they're wearing. I've never cared. And I said, why would you come and give me some kind of a book like that when it's about these people? I don't even have nothing to say about them. And I don't probably resonate with anything that they were or stood for. And if it's going to be some gossipy thing about whatever, and I'm just going to tell them about secrets and stuff, I said, no, I can't do that. And thank God it wasn't that, because, oh my goodness, I would have never done that. I just would never have done that. The only thing I want to put out into the world are messages that have something in them because my whole purpose for being on this planet since I was 5, I knew it, is to help raise consciousness on the planet in whatever way God wants to use me. I don't know what that is. I thought it'd be X, Y, and Z, and it's A, B, C, whatever. I'm just trusting that there's a plan, and it's like you said, the little breadcrumbs lead you. They lead you one step at a time. When I first went to a spiritualist church in Canada, in Calgary, and they have platform mediums. So they're up on the platform, and it's part of the service, Sunday service. And the medium comes to people in the audience and does get gallery style readings. Didn't know any of what that was called back then. But anyway, she came to me and she said, oh my goodness, you have all these guides with you and all these people with you, and they're laughing because they're saying that you're actually a medium like me. And I thought, is that what you are? I didn't even know the word medium. And she said, but the thing is, they're laughing because you talk a lot and you're ADD, and you can't stop long enough to meditate or go connect. So they're trying to reach you, but you've got to stop. So at that point, I realized what that was, that it's called mediumship. I had a name for it, and I took up meditation and kind of did some of that. So yeah, it's just a message here, breadcrumb there, a book here, whatever. It's all divine. It was put in your path from the divine.
When you meditate, what do you do? Like, how do you meditate?
When I first started, I tried kind of all the different methods. So I did the Wayne Dyer. I did his awe and his om. I'm sure my son will remember this because he was 5, and I would do it with him at noon, and he'd be like, "Oh my goodness!" But anyways, I did that. I did visualizations. I did so chant. Sometimes I try chanting. Guided meditation seemed to be my best. But I have to be honest and tell you that was then, and that's kind of what I did to get open the doors, I guess you could say. One of the things, but people think I meditate now. Oh my goodness. I'm sure they're wishing I did more often, but I don't. I'm busy with life and doing, and I do it as a job. I connect as work now, that I don't really do it. In fact, at this very moment, Mary Magdalene apparently has a message for me. She really wants to talk. It's been about over 2 weeks, and I haven't sat down and said, okay, what is it you want to tell me? I don't know. I was doing the dishes the other day, and I said, why did you guys come to me? I'm kind of just if this was a job on the earth, I'd be fired a long time ago. Seriously, I would, because I don't know what it is. I'm not disciplined enough to do whatever. And so
what does Mary Magdalene say? What's her message?
I don't know, because actually I've only brought her forward twice in 2 messages for clients. So I would just give messages, but she didn't come to me. She's not one of my, we'll call it regulars. Mother Mary is a regular with me, Jesus, of course, and some of the like Archangel Raphael and some of those. The other archangels, but and some of the masters like Saint Germain and different ones, but she's never come to me with a message. And I have friends all the time say, did you tune in? Lisa, did you go and find out what she wants to tell you? Something about my gifts and abilities or something. I don't know. I think I don't know. I shouldn't guess. I don't know what it is, but I will get there.
What's the process for you to connect? What does that look like?
Sit still.
Just sit still.
It's really that simple. I literally just sit there and I call in, my team, we'll call it my team, and I get that. And I literally just sit there. I don't listen to music. I don't do anything before readings. I do nothing. Some people go into a big thing and they have a ritual, and fair enough. That's what we teach people to do. But I personally just don't. I guess I'm too lazy, too undisciplined, whatever. Too ADD, too scattered. I don't know, but I don't do anything. I literally just sit down, or I pick up the phone and start reading somebody. So thankfully it comes easily that way. I just wait till they show up, and then they do. And then I have my computer, and I always take notes because I want to remember what they're saying, what this message is. And I know I wouldn't if I didn't take notes. Right.
What's Edgar Casey like?
Well, he was the beginning of my journey, between Conversations with God, the Edgar Casey books, and Ruth Montgomery. They kind of started my initial, journey. And I loved him and loved all his work and his books and his messages. And I particularly loved his book on Jesus. The Edgar Casey on Jesus book was fabulous. That, along with the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ, was fantastic. But when he came in, it threw me, because he was pretty serious, and he was concerned about how, well, it's true though, we're all immersed in our electronics and our phones, and we're not connecting and communicating anymore. And I have to say, he's right. I didn't expect that from him, and he was a little sullen, and I'm kind of a happy person, and he was, I don't know, it was just hard to channel him, actually. But
it's funny. It was like he was a sleeping prophet. So it was like he wasn't there he was there physically, but he wasn't there. It wasn't Edgar Casey. It was him going into those different states of consciousness, and then the spirit or whoever channeling through him. So it wasn't like Edgar Casey at first didn't know if it was good or bad, right? Like he didn't know what was going on.
Totally.
And
yeah, totally. And
how
apparently
he comes to you. It's just funny how he comes to you through the channel, when he never identified himself as that. It's just funny how that is.
Yes, and he was very humble. According to his story, he was very humble because in a past life, he misused his gift. And that's the other thing. People can, just the other day, I'm preparing for a class, my intuitive IQ class, and I'm teaching about just because somebody, even if they could bilocate, walk through walls, time travel, remote view, all of it, levitate, do whatever, alchemy, they could create, a piece of gold from a rock. All of that is doable. We all can do that. All those gifts, that's just what I call manipulation of energy. So you can be taught to do those things. And they have done some teaching with me about those things. The only thing is, and this I teach in my classes, so it's not about that. Just because you see someone that can do it or you hear about them, that is no gauge to their consciousness. That is no gauge, because we all know that the darker side can use those same things and do wonderful results and look like, wow, look at that profound thing, but it's coming from a dark consciousness, a lower consciousness. And so I said, that's all really exciting stuff, and you'll learn some of that, or you can develop it on your own too. But focus, like you said, Trey, focus on your consciousness, because if you raise your consciousness, when those gifts appear, you will use them rightly. And, otherwise these gifts it's like Atlantis. No wonder it sunk. These people had these powers, like crazy powers, but a lot of them, they were of a lower consciousness and they've misused. So we can misuse everything in life. We can use well or misuse, and it's always a choice.
Yeah, I was reading something. They were saying, I don't know if it was, I can't remember if it was Edgar Casey book or something, where they said that Hitler and Stalin were the past lives were in Atlantis.
Makes sense, though. It makes sense. Yeah, it would make sense.
I could talk to you all night, Lisa, for real. I love your energy. That's one thing that I need to work on, because I've had some, I guess how you say it, Akashic records, and they're saying, once you'll in this life, your mission is to live on the balance of scale between stoicness and high energy, which I have both. It's just, it's got to balance that scale. And I love talking to people like you who are just fighting that good fight for people that they're not even aware of it. And it raises my consciousness. And one thing I tell people is that I do believe in a superconscious or super consciousness, collective consciousness. And you don't necessarily need to be doing anything crazy like writing a book or anything like that. I think you can do little things in your life to contribute to that collective consciousness that makes it stronger. Like, I like to think that when I go out for my runs, yes, it's painful, but I'm contributing a lesson. I'm contributing my energy to that collective consciousness. When I channel, when I meditate, when I do these podcasts, when I read books, I'm collecting my consciousness. I'm contributing my energy, my consciousness to the collective. So people that hear this interview, you don't necessarily need to be a psychic medium or an author or be a superstar, rock star to make an influence on anything. You can do things, daily habits. Like, Wayne Dyer talks about going out to your garden and pulling the weeds and doing it in God's name and contributing to that source of energy. Like, you could do little things that add up to the collective.
Oh, absolutely. Just absolutely. Everyone who's listening or watching needs to really know that for sure, that it's not about, it's just not about the gifts and skills that you just, sort of exhibit. Oh, it has nothing to do with that. It's, kindness. It's kindness. It's working on yourself. It's evolving yourself. It's digging in there and looking at issues or patterns or things you've got going and putting the time and effort into, helping yourself and raising that up, and self-care and self-examination. That's so important. That's so important. I think it's probably number one. It's the reason we're here in these bodies. It's to evolve ourselves. That's it. They told me there's only one game in town, and that's what it is. Evolve yourself. And in the process, if you can help others because you're course, every time you help yourself, you're putting, like you said, into the collective, and it raises everybody. And start with the little things besides working on yourself, because that's vitally important. Besides that, just be kind, do an act of charity, smile at somebody, just watch and listen to and be involved in things that are of higher frequency, that are love and light, that are, more divine, instead of getting involved in lower frequency things like gossiping and complaining and negativity and perpetuating who knows what, the way things are right now on the planet. No, kind of just shut it off, switch it off, and shut it off, right?
I love that. So
Yeah.
this has been amazing. How can people connect with you? How can they buy your book?
LisaNajjar.com. That's N like Nancy, AJJAR. LisaNajjar.com, and everything is there. My book is on Amazon. My courses and all that are there. But make sure you subscribe, because my newsletter, I don't send them out too often. I know I hate that, getting them, so I don't do it too often. But for one thing, you'll be entered to win a free draw. I do them monthly for a reading, and sometimes people don't check their emails, and I'm writing them going, you're the winner, and it's just sitting there, so I have to choose somebody else. So definitely that, but also you'll find out about all the courses, classes, and everything else that I offer. Meditations, full moons and new moon meditations. I'm just starting brand new this month, March. And on the 13th, I think it is, the first one is the new moon. And it'll be really nice to connect in with that energy, because those things actually help activate some of the stuff you're talking about. And this was so fun, Trey. Really, it's lovely to connect with you too. Definitely.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. Last question, kind of big, kind of powerful. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, my legacy, not even a question. I would like to think and to believe and to know and find out that I evolved myself from where I began in this lifetime to where I ended up. So there's a progressive evolvement there. And that's number one, because they told me always focus on that first, because as you do that, you raise the vibration around the planet. But then secondarily, of course, and I hope that whatever that evolution really did contribute in some way, some meaningful way, to the others on this planet. So yeah. Help myself and then help others. Yeah.
Love it. Lisa, thank you so much for joining the show. This has been an absolute treat. I loved every minute of it.
Wow. Thank you. It's been a real treat for me too, Trey.